Hi, I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. Such a pleasure to chat to you. Thanks so much for taking the time. Huge congrats on your feature debut. I mean, maybe you can just give us a brief intro in your own words. What can people expect when they come to watch Brides?
Wow. Well, thank you, first of all. For me, it's a film about friendship, really, and especially friendship in our teenage years, where things are so potent and so electric, where you die for your best friend. And it's also, for me, about the teenage brain, where we're hardwired to make sort of impulsive and erratic decisions. And it's a wonder if any of us sort of survived our teenage years. And usually we do, because we have people around us that catch us and look after us when we fall. But our protagonists have got quite a challenge on their hands because stuff isn't good at home or at school. And so they make this pact to run away from home and towards danger, really.
And obviously, you've worked for such a long time in the theatre. It's your first time stepping behind the camera, making a movie. Why was this the right story? When you read that script, why did you feel so excited to get on board with this one?
Well, funnily enough, Suhai El Bushra, our brilliant writer, and I met doing a play at the National Theatre, and we got on really, really well. And at the same time, the news was kind of saturated with stories of the real life young people that made a similar journey, namely like Shamima Begum and her school friends. And we just noticed that the media really vilified these young women, and no one was really talking about it from their point of view as young people. And so we just thought a story needs to be told from their point of view. There's loads of brilliant documentaries and podcasts about, jihadi brides and all of that. But I just feel ours is about them and their journey. And it's a fictionalized story. I mean, definitely, but Sahela did copious research around real life instances from young people living across the UK and Europe at the time. So yeah, it's sort of rooted in the truth. But then again, it's not like one size fits all. There were lots of reasons people made the journey, but I think we were scared about it, to be honest with you, Sarah. We did think, are we going to be brave enough? Do we add to a kind of vitriol towards the Muslim community? And, there's so many stereotypes as it is. But I just think we just needed to really, I keep saying we needed to kill the policeman in our heads, which is something you need to do as an artist, and just be brave and tell the story.
And I think, yeah, when you watch it, I guess it was quite sort of, you on purpose that you kind of don't mention ISIS, or we don't really see what happens after their journey ends, because we've seen all that, I guess, in the media, and we've seen those images. This completely sort of flips the narrative on its head. And as you say, very much focuses on these two young girls, focuses on their friendship. So was that something very intentional from your side? And what do you think the impact is on the audience from perhaps removing some of those images and those narratives that they feel like they've maybe been fed before by the media?
As I say, we couldn't hope to, portray Syria in war-torn times. There's great footage around documentaries, and we all have seen it. We've seen Aleppo before and after. But I think for us, it was about the push and the pull. And I think our research showed that as many as they were young people, they were different reasons for going. And even our two protagonists have different pushes and pulls. Doe is in love with a young man who's making a journey. Her mother absolutely loves her, though she has a sort of turbulent home life. Muna is going for her own reasons as well. And we did try and show, real life social media impact. So the girls are kind of indoctrinated online through what they see online, and all of that's real, from cute teenage frivolous things like, come over, we've got halal haribo and a real sisterhood, and where you'll belong here, to footage of real life injustice. So I think, though we don't mention the word ISIS, there is stuff online that you see they consume. Also, there's this disembodied voice, which is sort of given a voice in their imagination because they couldn't have known who was really on the other side of the keyboard talking to them. I mean, it's a young woman and she has a young woman's name. It could be a man, we don't know. And I think that was very coercive, that voice who paints a beautiful paradise on the other side of the border. So I do hope that we do like smoke out some of the push and pull, but I just think our film could and is in no way an algebraic equation to why someone makes a journey like this, why someone is radicalized, if you will. I think it's trying to just start by asking the questions. And because our film is set in 2014, before there would have been loads of media around what was going on in Syria, the young people going wouldn't have fully understood what was there on the other side. They just couldn't have known.
And what incredible pair that you cast for your protagonists. I actually had the chance to speak to them last week. What wonderful young women, and this lived-in chemistry that they have, which is obviously really key to the movie. So how did you cast them? Because I know that Safia has more experience than Abada, so perhaps they could kind of hold each other's hand through the journey they go on together. But we also had to really believe that despite them being quite different characters, that they had this kind of ride or die bond with each other. So what was it like working with them?
Totally. I mean, look, the chemistry is real. They really got on well and they really clicked. And they, there was definitely a bit of Muna in me and a bit of Muna in Saf and a bit of, Doe in both Ibada and Sahela, the writer. We always joke about that. So the chemistry was real, but we did something called street casting with our brilliant casting director, Shaheen Baig, who's just won loads of awards for adolescence. And she's kind of famous for, casting working class actors and global majority talent through sort of non-traditional pathways. So we did this huge social media reach out and had over 500 young people apply for the roles, and we did loads of auditions. I love auditioning. I think it's a process. And we did workshop auditions as well, where young women sort of improvise together and work together. And for me as a director, I'm auditioning actors, but they're auditioning me too. For me, it's a two-way street. And Sahela and I were in these workshop auditions, and we felt completely validated when we were nervous. We didn't know whether the young women would say, look, this is really offensive, or this doesn't resonate with us, or doesn't feel like our teenage experiences. And they really did feel like we'd seen them, which just sort of made us feel a huge sigh of relief. But also with those conversations, we fed that back into the script as well. So that was the casting process, and it was a long and thorough one. And I think it paid dividends, because I know I'm biased, but I think the performances from both are extraordinary. And yes, Ibada has never acted before this, and Saf has a little, but she's also a young actor at the beginning of a journey. So I think their performances are exquisite. And I've worked a lot with, incredible actors that are now household names, but at the beginning of their career, like I worked with Michaela Coel, Aaron Pierre in one of his first plays, Anya Chalotra in one of her first plays. And, so I think when I can feel when someone's got some kind of God-given talent, really, and I feel the girls really have.
But, in terms of the impact of a film like this, or perhaps, in the way you're saying at the beginning, not being afraid to be potentially provocative, but to get people talking and to sort of pose these questions, and perhaps, reclaiming the narrative about, these women, and especially in the film, you realize just how young they are and how vulnerable. And perhaps by sort of having this Thelma and Louise kind of ode to sisterhood, we see these people in such a different light. So I guess it's a real kind of plea for empathy more than anything else, rather than just, taking what we see at face value in the headlines.
I think all cinema is about putting yourself in someone else's shoes, and all good theatre and cinema is about the act of empathy and recognizing we've got more in common than we have apart. Yes, on the tin, this is a hot potato of a subject, you know, potentially controversial, but I think it's one of those films, when you see it, you'll feel it, that it isn't just sensationalism. It isn't an apologist piece for radicalisation, nor is it, in my opinion, trying to make any community, certainly my own, feel like we have the monopoly on immorality or evil or anything like that. It's about children or young people making impulsive decisions when they're vulnerable and feeling like they don't belong. And, you know, I think in this very divided world, or certainly the politicians would have us believe that we're all different from each other, it's really important to have the discussion. It's as long as we keep talking, even if we don't agree, it's the discourse that's really important.
100%. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with me. Huge congrats on this movie, and I can't wait for everyone else to see it. Thanks so much.
Thank you.